Good evening and good morning, everyone. My name is Bhante, Dr. Chandima, and joining with me is Professor Kariyawasam. Professor is joining with me for the sixth time by dedicating his lot of time for his academic work. I'm very thankful to Professor Kariyawasam. Today's topic gonna be very thought-provoking, and I think it covers many things. The topic for today is what what is it that prevents people from living to their full potential. So this topic is in the discussion for many decades, and I think probably for centuries. I think before we moving on to discussing this topic, we have to sort of define this topic in some details. Now, what is a life living up to full potential? Now, we are not talking about um, how to uh, have a life, how to have a best life, how to how to get a best life, because we know perfection itself has some flaws and some issues, so that we can say there's a best life, there's a perfect life, but we can say a life with a lot of potential. So we everybody possess uh, energies, talents, potentials. So we think that it is really good to awaken, energize, and to move, and then to move those potentials towards the personal and social development in the world. So that's why we chose this topic to talk. How to live up to full potential. Also, we know that when we want to live up to full potential, we may have some issues, some preventive things. We call them barriers. So we're going to be talking what is a life living up to full potential in the first place, and then we will be talking what are the barriers that sort of block us in awakening full potential, the life with full potential. And at the end, we're going to be talking the Buddhist attitude in leveraging, in making us this life with full potential. So first, I want to give an introduction about this topic. In short, how many of you have ever heard the phrase "he or she had so much potential, but it was a shame that he or she wasted those potential"? I mean, you're looking back someone's life, going to the past. Because in our cultures, not living up to full potentials is frowned upon. Because nobody likes seeing that somebody is wasting their life. Uh, so in this discussion, we want to look into the factors that influence a person's potential and ways how to help us live up to our full potentials for a successful life, for a better life. As well as I want to say that this may look to some people an impossible thing. For those, I want to remind the Bannister effect. Those of them who study psychology know Bannister effect. You know the Bannister, Roger Bannister. At that up until 1954, there was a misconception that someone can run uh, 1 mile in 4 minutes. But Roger Bannister defeated, uh, refuted that thought, because he ran a mile in 3.59 uh, uh, minute and second. So he could show that this running 1 mile in 4 minutes is possible. So that means up until someone uh, you know refutes something by showing an example, make an example, we won't believe it. So that's why we call it Bannister effect. So that means things are possible. The problem is we don't think that things are possible. So I understand. I think Professor also agreeing with me in this discussion that having a life with full potential is a possibility. So first, we need to take a look at what is a life with full potential? So in order to see this life with full potential, we must look at four main areas. I want to say before I move on to the specific ones. We need physical security. Now we know that we need the basic needs. We basically need to make sure that everybody, uh, you know, everybody has access to physical needs, like I would say food, water, shelter. Also, we need emotional security. We are not isolated beings. We are social animals. We don't do well in isolation. So we need people. We need interaction with people. So if the bond is missing with other people, we might be having some long-term psychological issues. So then, physical security, emotional security, also environment. We know that uh, if you are born in a country where you don't gain access to basic things, maybe to fulfill your life, it could be a problem. So environment, maybe your parents' motivation, also the mindset. I think this is the most important thing, mindset. If you don't have a mindset which can transform into this particular idea of living up to full potential, you will not get there anytime. With that in mind, I want to uh, you know explain to you the two main aspects of this life with full potential. We can sort of break them into two kinds: health and wealth. So under health, we know that health is a big thing in our life, because we know not even physical health but also mental health uh, is important. So that's why when we talk about health, it has to be discussed in two ways: physical and mental. That's one factor in finding the security for health. And also relationships, as I said in the beginning, emotional security. In the emotional security, we need good healthy relationships. That means we all like to you know feel a sense of belonging to people who really like us, who really appreciate us, who really protect us. So that's a kind of a need too, a factor in living up to the full potential. Also some abstract type of mental needs, like wisdom. I think we talked about wisdom last week. Wisdom is a very lengthy topic. We talk about knowledge, intelligence, and wisdom. In that, wisdom is something that we all cherish to achieve. Also self actualization. We know that self actualization simply means that we all like to see that our potentials and our skills are being met. At the same time, they are being used by the relevant authorities, relevant people. If you feel that you are good at something, but if, on the other hand, you feel, oh, nobody thinks that I'm good at, nobody wanna take my contribution, you feel like not self-actualized. So self-actualization is a great need in terms of living up to our full potential. Also liberation. We all like to liberate from many things. It could be financial freedom, it could be social bonds. At the end, it could be the highest goal in any religion, I would say nibbana in Buddhism. On the other hand, wealth. As in, health is this perspective which has health, physical and mental health, relationships or sense of belonging, wisdom, self-actualization, and liberation. On the side of wealth, we know we all, especially as lay people, you looking for pursuing a life for material prosperity. In that, a lot of people having a lot of ideas. They want to be rich, but sometimes they're gonna be into a lot of issues too when they wanna pursue a life with only expectations of material prosperity, also comforts. So I think this makes clear that what everybody needs in their normal lives, as well as what they need in terms of pursuing a life to full potential. So I think now I would like to ask Professor the first question. Professor, what do you think? How do you take this question? What is it that prevents people from living to their full potential? What do you think by the word a life with full potential? Is it possible? And what is the nature? What is the background? How do people need to think about this life, to their full potential. What is your perception? So,
Uh, that is a very important issue actually, because uh, as we are human beings and we are born to this world as human beings, this is a very rare uh, chance that can be had, this to be born as a human being. That is what it really mentioned in Buddhism also, Kiccho Manasa Patilabo. The human being is the being and who has lot of capabilities and potentialities, as well as that is what really the Buddha really mentioned, that an human being is the being more than the because at that time the all the uh, at that time most of the people and they worship gods, but ultimately it mentioned an human being can pass the god and go beyond the god. So because of such a kind of capabilities as the human being, that Buddha uh, really proved that and uh, showed that and the what are the capabilities the human being has. And these capabilities, of course, is coming from the throughout the transmigration, because in every birth in the transmigration, every human being develops some kind of capabilities, as well as, and in the next life, and supposing and he develops a particular kind of a capability, and in next life again and he develops more. So in that case, this samsara is really a kind of a evolution of the human beings' talents and the potentials. That's what we can really mention according to Buddhism. And these things, of course, again, human being has the intention to improve and the unravel the capabilities what he has within his deep ocean of mind, because all these things we know that and uh, everything is deposited in our mind. So now I can give you one example for this. Now we are really watching the circus, and some people really train to perform circus. Those are very wonderful things, and people go to see, and they really amazed to see some of the circus performance. So then those things, they are trained. They have trained for those things and quite a long time. Then ultimately they can do it. Any other person also, if wish, and if he put effort, and he can also improve that kind of ability. How this is can improve that? Because in samsara they have done these things, and they are hidden within ourselves, and that particular capabilities, and those things again can really improve if he really wish. So the that is what, according to Buddhism, we can show that these capabilities and uh, potentialities and these things are within ourselves, and they can improve. And again, And some of them really want to improve some kind of talents from very childhood even. But they don't have time to improve those things. And because of various other things, and we know that a young child, and they are going to educate themselves. Then after that, after education, when they grow up and they are going to a kind of a vocation and doing things and working, then no time. But when they get retired, after retirement also, still they can improve those kind of talents. That has been really explained in one of the very important books which has been published in USA quite some time back in the name of Many Mentions by Gina Seminara. And in that it really mentioned if someone could not really improve their talents at young age, but after retirement also they can do it. There is no age limit for those things to improve. This is the kind of a way the things can work within human life. So the human life has a wonderful life. So these talents and capabilities can really improve if they really wish. There are some barriers also for those things. We can discuss all these things also later on, and what are the kind of barriers for preventing some of the potentialities hidden in human life.
Okay, I think Professor was dealing with the fundamental background of this question, and the sort of cultural influence to this question as well as how we need to think. So now the next thing is to move on to the most important part of this conversation. It's what prevents us in attaining a life, in moving on to a life with full potential. As I said at the beginning, full potential is a place where we need to sort of find out and validate that we have these skills and potential. So we need to sort of energize. We need to sort of strive to make them happen in our life in the long run, maybe in the short run too. I think when I was talking about this life living up to full potential, I've been talking physical security, emotional security, environment, and mindset. Under mindset, there is a big issue, Professor. The thing is, there are in psychology, in normal understanding, we know there are two types of mindsets that we can see. One being fixed mindset, the other being growth mindset. So fixed mindset people are people who seem to be people who already had some failures at the beginning of their life. Let's say they understood a kind of a failure when they were small. Let's say they are not good at maths, and then they have this feeling all the time, oh, I can't do maths, I can learn maths, I can't do it, I won't make that happen. So this failure mentality, not even maths, could be public speaking, it could be any other subject, it could be maybe a life skill, it could be swimming, it could be cooking, it could be anything. So what they do is that they maintain their failure mentality over the course of time, which is pretty bad. That's what we understand them by fixed mindset people. And the growth mindset people, they are people who know what is impossible, as well as they know that they have time, they have enough space to develop themselves. Let's say if I'm not good at public speaking, I want to go to a class, I want to join masters. Oh, I wanna join a place where I can learn public speaking. I wanna develop. It may take time, but I know I can transform my failures into possibilities. So that's a kind of mindset called growth mindset. So we are talking to these both kind of people. We are talking this topic, living up to the full potential for both fixed mindset people as well as growth mindset people. Uh, so with that in mind, we should move into the barriers. So what are the basic barriers? We know the main type of barrier for this subject is confidence. So we know that confidence comes from knowledge, discipline, and experience. But for this question, in order to answer this question, we know that we need to have a knowledge about this subject, about the life, and how we can transform this life into a life with full potential, as well as discipline. There is an ethical dimension. So you need to be patient. It's not an overnight success thing. You can be successful. You can find a life with full potential just in one night. It may take time and experience. So as I said at the beginning in this conversation, the first barrier that I understand is confidence, lack of confidence. So under lack of confidence, we know there are a few other things we can talk about. The first thing that pops in my mind is fears. Now in psychology, we know there is a term called cherophobia. There are a lot of phobias in psychology, right? So one of the phobias is cherophobia. That means fear of being happy. So if any of you have this fear of being happy, which we call cherophobia, it's a problem. So you need to get rid of this cherophobia. It's kind of an irrational aversion to being happy. We need to be happy, but don't try to justify that you need to be unhappy, because if you are not trying to understand that you need to live up to full potential, then you need this happiness in one sense. But also keep in mind, happiness is a choice. And it's not something you work on. It's a byproduct of what you do. Let's say you are doing something, you are enjoying that thing, and then the happiness will arise as a byproduct. Not that you are doing that to be happy. So it's a byproduct that's highly accepted far and wide. So the first thing is we may have fears in living to the full potentials. I think Professor will deal with that too after my question. So we may have other fears too, not even fear of being happy. We may have fears of understanding our potentials, our skills, our value, our self-worth. There are a lot of fears surrounding this fear concept under self-confidence. Second is comfort zone. Comfort zone means that we are in our own comfort zones. We don't like to step out, right? So I understand that the more you think that you don't like to step out of your comfort zone, the longer is the life with your full potential. You need to step out and strive to see whether this can work or not. So being in comfort zone only will not make you happy. We need a comfort zone, but at times you need to step out a little bit and see what would happen if I step out. So I think people do not step out from their comfort zone because they are not self-confident. If they are self-confident, they will step out, take a risk, take a chance, and see how it goes. So stepping out of comfort zone doesn't mean you are trying to risk you. Let's say you are trying to do some unnecessary, really bad things. No, you are trying to do good things. Take an initiative, try out whether this can work or not, and not being honest. So we need to be honest in our practice, in our aim of living to the full potential. So that is under low self-awareness or self-confidence. That's one barrier. Second barrier is weak motivation. I think this is one of the best things in the Buddhist teachings. Buddha says, even you know Dhamma, but if you don't have enough virya, what do you call by that? Inner energy, and then plus that expanded Dhamma, name called Dhamma matter called Samma Vayama, how do you call effort, right? Effort. Then you won't practice Dhamma very well. So we need energy. When it comes to secular life, like your life, you need motivation, you need energy. But what are the barriers for this issue? Laziness. If you are lazy, if you are really lethargic, you won't make that happen. You won't live a life to full potential. Second thing is, uh, take time to recharge. Sometimes you fail. Not even you, we all fail sometimes, right? In some sort of activities, maybe some large scale, small scale activities. But take that downtime to recharge yourself. Take a time to think what happened, why I failed, and then to recharge yourself, and then to get back to the track. So that is weak motivation. So we need to get rid of this weak motivation, which is the second big barrier. Third one is focusing on wrong qualities in our life. So we need to focus on the wholesome, right qualities in order to live a life to our full potential. The first thing is emotional lack of emotional intelligence. I think people always get emotional because they try to work from their heart all the time. But we need to balance out our heart and mind all the time. So if you are emotionally unintelligent, you will be facing a lot of problems. You won't make this life to full potential. You don't understand the life. You don't accept what's going on. Second is inflexibility. Being flexible is a need. We need to be flexible. If you are not trying to be flexible, you won't be able to find your full potential. You need to take time. You need to sort of understand who are you with, where you are, and all these things with a flexible mindset. And then impatience, it's a big problem. You need to focus on not on impatience but on patience. Impatience will give you everything. And close-mindedness. When you are close-minded, you won't see anything. You will see everything black and white. But if you see everything with an open-mindedness, let's say other cultures, other religions, other people, you will see a lot of things. You will know Dhamma well. Also, you will know life really well, so that you will uncover the full potentials of your life. And lack of empathy or compassion. I think in today's world, people talk about mindfulness and kindness or compassion. So we need to have this empathy and compassion. Empathy simply means that you are trying to understand what other people are going through, but in compassion, we understand you are trying to help out those people who you empathetic for. And having a life without complaining. Don't focus on complaints. We all have complaints, but we try to look on or focus on complaints. We try to sort of finding out uh, positive solutions for the issues. And I think Professor will delineate this in great detail. Self-focus. I think there are people who are very selfish, very self-focused, so that you won't understand your potentials in your life because you are self-focused. You are not trying to open up for someone. You're not trying to understand anything other people. You think you are right. Every time you are right. So then what happens is that you are losing a lot of things that you need to know. And poor decisions. Yes, we need to make good decisions. Professor, these are the main barriers, as you could see: low self-awareness or lack of self-confidence, weak motivation, that means lack of good energy, and focusing on the wrong qualities in our life. So I think these are real barriers, and you could sort of dig into these three barriers as well as the sub factors that make people stuck in these barriers. Professor?
Yes, this is, of course, is one of the main factors as barriers to improve our full potentials. And as discussed it, I would like to take the first one as fear. Fear, of course, is a kind of a barrier for ourselves not to improve any of our talents or any potentialities, not only that, and anything. Because of some people have this fear psychosis, in fact, and they always in fear, don't know for what. Sometimes some people are really always what we really say that, and they are really like they are really fighting for the wars. That kind of a way that can normally we try to identify those people because they always with the pale looking and there is no enjoyment, no any smile on the face, and always really they are in fear for something which we don't know. And this is, of course, is a kind of a thing that we it is kind of thing blocking our improvements like talents and other things. Not only any kind of improvements cannot really have that, and because of this fear. And this, of course, fear has been mentioned in Buddhism as a kind of a defilement. Uh, in the Padana Sutta, it's mentioned that fear is a force, sixth force of Mara, evil one. That means the kind of a uh, defilement which is really in our mind. Because this is, of course, this fear came even to the Bodhisattva. We can read it in the kind of a sutta which is called Bhayaberava Sutta. The name of Bhayaberava means that fear is the real fear, in fact. Fear and dismay. That is the kind of a translation given by for this particular term, Pali term, Bhayaberava. So in that sutta, it mentioned that soon after the Bodhisattva renunciated, then after that, and he went to see the Alara Kalam, and that is a kind of a place where some others also engage in exerting themselves to attend into jhanas and so on. That is the kind of school. But after renunciation, and he was in a palace where it's always with the people and there was no any loneliness. Then went to the Alara Kalam, also there is no loneliness. Then after that, Alara Kalam, Uddakarama, then really he wanted to try himself alone in the forest. But in the forest, of course, and he was alone. Then must have felt some kind of any haunting during the night and so on. Then he thought he cannot go forward because of this fear. That is what I am trying to say, that and because fear, if there is a fear and you cannot really go forward of development, any mental development or anything, any kind of a development. That is what I just wanted to say. That's why so that is why I really brought up this particular story of the Bodhisattva. Then ultimately Bodhisattva decided to find out what is this fear. Then he selected the places where the fear were. Because in any societies, even in those kind of societies, there had been, even nowadays also, there are some places people name that haunting places, and you cannot go during the dark and to that particular place, and under that particular tree, under that fountain, you cannot go there. And there are some kind of spirits and demons and yakshas and rakshasas, and they are really break your neck and this kind of stories, and we can listen. So then Siddhartha Bodhisattva selected some places like that, and during the midnight, and he went to those places and sat down under, supposing it is a tree, and he sat down under tree and waiting until fear to come. Then ultimately he mentioned, but there was no fear, anything only that can, when I sat down under a tree, on the top of the tree, and there have been some birds was uh, sleeping, and they were really moving here and there, and the tree bark has fallen down, or the wind caused to give a noise of a branch, and if a deer, of course, really crept nearby. That is the kind of things without no any other fear. And he mentioned, and really this is how he overcame fear. And so it also shows that this fear, of course, is a kind of a defilement in our mind. So that, of course, prevents our everything. And there are some other places also. The Buddha really used this kind of and his experience to train the monks also. And in one time, some monks, and they were really engaged in meditation activities. Then during the night, and they heard a very big noise. Then ultimately, they with a big shout, and they came to the Buddha and said, and we cannot go, we cannot really engage in meditation activities there because there was a very big noise. Then what the Buddha said, no, that is the same place that you must go into that place and you must exert yourself. That is the way that, and Buddha also try to um get rid of fear of the other's mind. So then this is one kind of a factor which is really preventing some of the potentialities. And not only that, and there are some kind of other thing is that, and some people, they do not really honest for themselves. They don't understand about themselves. They don't really realize their potentialities and what they can do, what they can improve. They don't really understand, as well as they have they lack of the self-confidence, as well as they do not think about themselves. That is the kind of a matter which they have this kind of a way. So then uh, they uh, uh, they are not try to be honest for them also. And if they wanted to, supposing why not honest, how they are not really honest to themselves. Now sometimes some people really think that, and now I must stop this wrong activity. Supposing someone is really engaged in kind of a habit, the taking liquor. So then he thinks that, and I will stop it. From today I am not taking any liquor. But after 2 or 3 days, now he cannot stay anymore that until he is thinking that only today I will take, and from tomorrow I am not taking. So then he will take that. So this is, of course, is a kind of a, he is not really honest for himself. So that also kind of a barrier, because he does not have the self-confidence again. That is why. Because then again he is failing of these things. So they cannot really uh, unravel the potentialities and so on. And the weak motivation, of course, and some people cannot really start any kind of work because they have either fear or some or other. They just do not have the particular mood to start any good work. Then without starting, how can they really uh, continue it? How can they do it? How can they progress it with that? So then motivation is something very important for this to improve the potentialities. And some of them, of course, the have the ignorance. Ignorance here means, of course, is, and they can't take they don't have intelligence. They can't take the proper decision at the time. At very important moments, they cannot take the proper decision. Because of that, that is the kind of ignorance or lack of intelligence, and because of that, also they cannot. These are the kind of barriers, of course, to develop the potentialities, as well as, and some of them really think that I cannot develop, however may I try, it is not really going to be success. That also happens in some people's life. And there is a method has been really shown, because when you are doing something, you must do it not really thinking that and I must do it, I must do it. In always you think with the self kind of way, because of it is, you are taking it as a self issues, and it's a selfish issue. But that should not really be kept it like that, because that prevents you from gaining any kind of capability, improving capability. You must do it in the way that, and you must think, if possible, that you, if you cannot think about that just doing it, and without thinking about I myself and so on, then it will come as a selfish issue. But you must really think that I am doing it for the sake of others. I am doing as this as a service. So that will give you the kind of strength for you. You can develop it in that way, because these are the issues that we can learn when we really uh, carefully think about the Buddhist doctrine, and we can really come up with these kind of issues about this in order to drive away some of the barriers.
Yeah, I think you've been sort of like describing, explaining about these three types of barriers. As I said at the beginning, we could take a look back. Um, Lack of self-confidence, that's what we've been talking first. There are fears, not stepping out from comfort zone and not being honest. And second barrier, main barrier, so there in this big barrier there are other sub barriers. So you can see fears, not stepping out of comfort zone and not being honest. And then weak motivation, under that we know laziness, that means lack of energy, not recharging when you are in downtime. Let's say you are having a downtime because you failed something, but you are not trying to recharge to get back to the track. And then the third big barrier is focusing on the wrong qualities, as the professor said in different examples too. I think professor mentioned this self-focusedness. Being self-focused too much is a big problem. Not even that, lack of emotional intelligence, inflexibility, impatience, close-mindedness, lack of empathy. There's one letter missing here, empathy, compassion, always complaining, self-focus, and poor decision. So I think this is a huge, these are huge three barriers. We need to get rid of that. So before we move on to what can we do, now we understand the life to full potential, and then we sort of understood the barriers. Now we want to say, before we moving on to the Buddhist attitude of this life with full potential, I want to say that what you could do, one of the things you could do is develop a goal. Now when you develop a goal, you need to be more specific, and it should be measurable. Now sometimes you know that we all need to live a life with full potential, but where to start, you never know. So you have to sort of minimize this big goal into a small type of thing. Let's say you are focusing on uh, uh, smaller versions of this life with full potential. Let's say you want to be healthy, right? So if you want to be healthy, this health is the big topic, but then you can sort of find out how you can be more specific in this goal. Maybe you're gonna sort of skip eating heavy meals. You're gonna sort of not consume a lot of sugar, not consume a lot of salt, not consume cholesterol based food. So you have to make it kind of specific. The big goal is making you healthy, want to be healthy, but you have to be sort of make your goals sort of specific in one way. The other hand, you need to make them measurable. You can sort of think, I want to do this time. I want to be sugar free for a week, sugar free for a month. I want to go for this kind of a diet. Not even that. When we were talking about relationships, you may have family, friends, and your partners. How I can specifically keep this relationship, in the next year, next month. How I can practice wisdom this particular month. How I can practice being wise in making my material prosperity in this particular month, maybe over the time, of course. So these are things that you need to be sort of specific and then measurable. Then you can develop the goal of living to your full potential. Second is you need to understand that your goal is oftentimes a byproduct of what you are doing. So the goal is to live to your full potential, but you know that your happiness always is a byproduct. It's not what you are doing for. It's what you do. Do your things really good to the best of what you can, and then that particular activity will create a byproduct. That is happiness. And happiness is more a mental state, and it's not an emotion. It's a mental state. And do not let people opinion dissuade you. I know in Buddhism that we like learning from other people, but sometimes there are a lot of bad people who are trying to push us from our wholesome thoughts, bad friends. So don't get controlled by those people. You just have to be kind and nice to them, but you know what you need to do. And also, the most important thing is that you need to accept your failures. So accepting failures is a really good thing, so that you can have a downtime to recharge yourself, as we talked in weak motivation. So I think these, developing a goal by being more specific and measurable, and trying to understand the happiness of this purpose of living to your full potential is a byproduct, and not letting other people take over you that way, so that you are kind of stuck. Trying to get out of your comfort zone and accept your failures, and then take a time to recharge and get back to your purpose. So these are really good steps you could do to live up to your full potential, with what we've been talking, the opposite of the barriers. So opposite of the barriers themselves are the things you need to work on. Let's say we talk about lack of self-confidence. You need to practice self-confidence without being feared, without just staying in the comfort zone, being very honest. And under weak motivation, the opposite is you need to have this good motivation. You need to be energetic. You need to strive. You need to recharge yourself. The opposite of focusing on the wrong qualities, that means focusing on the good qualities. You are trying to be intelligent with your emotions. You are trying to be flexible. You are trying to be patient. You are trying to be open-minded. You are trying to be compassionate and empathetic. You are trying not to complain a lot. We know we all may have complaints, but you're trying to see the positive side of complaining. You are trying to be altruistic, not being self-focused, and you are trying to make good decisions. So these are the opposite sides. They are the things you need to do to live up to your full potential. Now, Professor, we are moving on to the Buddhist attitude towards living to full potential. Buddha talks a lot. Buddha uh, talk a lot about this topic, but we don't have a lot of time to talk all that. So, but we specifically chose two, textual reference. The first one is Vyaggapadya Sutta, wherein Buddha was informed by a young man, Vyaggapadya, was telling Buddha specifically, Buddha, we don't need these ultra extra mundane teachings. We are people who are enjoying comfort, so we need something from you for our secular life. So, and then Buddha talk about four things for this life and four things for next life. The professor will be delineating what they are and how they are relevant to, living to full potential. Also, because we started this conversation from two aspects, health and wealth, there are a lot of things that Buddha talks about this living life to full potential. The Singalavada Sutta. In the Singalavada Sutta, Buddha talks about, I think, six relationships, sense of belonging. So one has to perform the duties to expect their rights, not that expecting rights without performing duties. And Buddha specifically talk about six ways. There are six ways that you will ruin, you will destroy your wealth. So we'll be talking these two, Vyaggapadya and Singalavada, and I think Professor will be delineating, and I will be adding something at the end. Professor?
Yes. Okay. Now as mentioned that it is the very important sutta in this regard, the Vyaggapadya Sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, it is called Vyaggapadya Sutta because it's the name of that particular person who came to Buddha and talked about and he asked that we are lay people and we have the families and we are really wearing very good clothes and having perfumes ourselves as well as, and we are having the garlands but anyway, what are the kinds of the advice that you can give for the benefit of in this life, in this world? Then again he asked another question that what kind of advice you can give for the benefit of next life, that life after. So then the Buddha, for the benefit of this life, and Buddha really mentioned four factors. One is, it is the Pali term that means Uttana Sampada. Uttana Sampada, then he gave actually four, Arakka Sampada, Kalyana Mittata, Samajivikata. The Uttana Sampada means exerting, accomplishment of exert or effort. Arakka Sampada means the accomplishment of the protection. Then Kalyana Mittata, and having the good friends, Samajivikata. And you must live the even life and spending and earning balance, making it balance, and you must live in that way. So then the Uttana Sampada, and we have to talk it here because it is a very important factor, which is really, Uttana means actually rising up or put some effort into that, and you must really have the virya to do it, because virya is the one thing very important aspect that has been explained in Buddhism, because without virya you cannot develop anything. Because at that time there have been some of the teachers who really mentioned there is no virya, there is no human effort. That Buddha really mentioned that effort is the very important one. Without effort, you cannot do anything. Especially for human beings, they need virya to live in this world, as well as to develop full potentials, as it mentioned, and to develop in their capabilities, as well as not only that, and spiritual life is, of course, is for that, and they have to have the virya or effort, and not only that, and to have the wealth also, you must have virya. And there, the Buddha really mentioned some people really wish to have the health, wealth, as well as long life, and these things they really wish. So I must have this long life, I must have the wealth, but these things, of course, not coming by mere wish, and you have to exert yourself and put effort, and you must struggle to earn money, then only you can earn. So that is what really Uttana Sampada means. It's mentioned that, and here in this particular sutta, it mentioned that, and if you are really a person and who are engaged in agricultural work, and you must not really should be lazy person, and you must go to the field, and you must open the waterways, and whenever it is want to close, and you must close it in time, and all these things you must look after without any lazy. So then this is the way that then you can earn money, and that is the Uttana Sampada. And it's mentioned if you are doing any other business also, any other also, it, everything, for everything you have to have the proper way of doing it. And here it's mentioned the skillfulness also, not only doing it, but also you have to do it with skillful, with intelligence, and that also used to have that, otherwise, and you cannot get full benefit of it. And that is how the Uttana Sampada has been explained. Then again, the Arak Sampada, the next one, that means the protection, because when you earn some money, some wealth, because always when you collect money or wealth and things like that, there are some kind of people and who really always try to grab them, and there are some robbers or thieves, and there are some other matters also. Sometimes the government also really, at that time it's mentioned as a raja, the if the king is not really in good terms with you sometimes, and he will also try to take all these things, and that kind of a way that it has been explained. And there are so many other elements that try to grab your uh, wealth. So then you must be able to protect them. Not only that, and sometimes natural disasters are coming. Sometimes the fire is also normally it happens, and sometimes again floods, and these are also natural disasters, and you must be able to protect your wealth properly from these things. And um, again it's mentioned the next one as good friends, kalyana mitra. Kalyana mitra, here the very important term for the good friends, kalyana mitra. Kalyana mitra means a really good friend, because there are friends, and it is in the Sigalovad Sutta, it's explained so many friends about, and some of them are really only mere lip service that they give. They just say something uh, of you when you ask something, some kind of help. They just say that, oh, yesterday I had this, and if you ask yesterday, then I could have given now. This kind of way that can some friends are talking about. Those are not really friends. Anyway, and choose your good friends. How to choose good friends? Good friends, of course, is always mentioned that can they see some kind of, if you have any weaknesses, and they point it out, and you should correct these things. And if you are going to do some kind of wrong things, that they will show you this is the wrong thing. You must not do it. At that time, then by that way, you must select the good friend. But sometimes nowadays, I know that, and some of the people, if you say, if he is doing any wrong thing, if you do it that you are doing a wrong thing, then he will definitely say that, because that today world is little bit different. This is mind your own business. This is my way. I am doing this. That also there is a kind of a way that the society has been changed now. But this is the way that you can select bad friends and good friends. So always you must have good friends, because you are living in the society. You cannot live alone in this society. The human nature is that, and you must have the friends. So you need friends, and always you have to talk to friends. Sometimes when you have some kind of a problems, uh, mental problem, that we all have sometimes some kind of things we are facing at that time, we want to talk to somebody, and we must talk it to a friend, and that friend should be a good friend. Sometimes something very important should not really known somebody that kind of a problem, and we cannot discuss with everybody, and especially with the bad friend, if we really discuss that, and he may go and tell it to others and make it a public issue, and ultimately it will become a very big problem for you. And those kinds of friends are also there, so you must select the good friends in those things, and looking at and what way that then we can accept in good friend and so on. Then Samajivikata, the last one, it mentioned that you have to have the balancing your economy. That means when you earn some money, and you have to spend, of course, money is to spend, uh, as well as, and is to use for your benefit. But when you are spending money, you must know how to spend. That means, and if you spend more than what you earn, this is not the kind of a balanced life. So then that is also have to be protected in that way, and think about it carefully, and uh, should not really spend more than what you earn. That is the kind of even life samajivikata that has been mentioned here. So this is the things which someone can improve in this life. Then another four has been mentioned about for the next life. That is the uh, Saddha Sampada. That means the faith of the uh, teacher, or supposing in Buddhism that we have to, it mentioned really here, Saddhati Tathagata Subodhing, and we must really have the faith on the Buddha's enlightenment. That is Saddha. Then Sila Sampada, that means then we must really improve our spiritual side also by that way. Sila, that means the Sila means, of course, in morality, and moral side is important thing to improve. Then without improving Sila, we cannot improve anything about this spiritual side. And Chaga means, of course, charity, because we as human beings, we must engage in some charities, and we must really give help for the poor people. And there are a lot of people, the poor people in this world, as well as then Panya, that means, and finally, because and we must understand about the real nature of the world. That real nature of the world means actually, that means the impermanent suffering, and the uh, non-self. This kind of a real uh, understanding that has been mentioned as panya, because these things are very important for the next life. Okay, this is the kind of way that the uh, for the Vyagapajja, the Buddha really has given the advices to improve in this life as well as the next life. And there are some Saddha, of course, is a few kind of Saddha. That means the Akaravati Saddha and so on. That means the Akaravati Saddha means and Saddha which is really the that you must do it in the way that can really, it's mentioned now. For example, the Buddha's, the belief or the faith on the Buddha's teaching, that you know that, and when you follow that teaching, you can really, if you follow that teaching perfectly, then definitely you can really completely eradicate the suffering in this world. This is the kind of a way that the Saddha sometimes has been mentioned. And again, the sometimes the Saddha has been explained as a kind of a way that can you are not really properly have the faith, because you are not really explaining, you are not really understanding what is faith really, because the Saddha that has been mentioned, as well as Saddha and Panya going together also. And it mentioned that, and if you have more Saddha and less Panya, then ultimately you are going to be a kind of a way, hypocritic way that you do things. Now it's mentioned Manda Saddo Balo Panyo Keratika Pakam Bhajati. So in that case, the Saddha and Panya both together in equal ways that you have to develop. And the 6 ways of squandering wealth, that really mentioned in the Sigalovada Sutta, that means the indulgent in intoxicants, and some people, of course, in the getting into that liquors, and ultimately it's making it a very big problem. And wandering the streets at improper times, because normally even nowadays also some youngsters, and they are really in the midnight also, and they wandering in the streets ultimately get into the problems and so on. That is and frequenting public spectacles, and there are some kind of places that you have to go and see and enjoy yourself, and those places, and some of them are going for the kind of things to see, and that is also a kind of a problem. And gambling, the other one is gambling is even on those days as well as today also in the world, everywhere it is really, those are the problems. And to destroy your wealth. And the companionship, because you have to have good companions. If you have the bad friends, then ultimately you are going to destroy your wealth. And the habitual idleness, that means and some laziness as well as when you are not doing anything properly. That is the kind of 6 ways of squandering wealth. These are the in Sigalovada Sutta that has been mentioned.
Okay, so what the professor was trying to say is that because we started talking about how to live a life, you know, uh, with full potential from kind of certain aspects, we also talk about this health and wealth aspect. So under health and wealth aspect, wealth, earn, and how to have this secular life with money and comfort. It's a big thought-provoking question. That's why he was talking about Vyagapada Sutta, where in which Buddha talks about every secular householder has to look into these eight. So he was talking about. Let me take a look. He was talking about four main aspects that one has to really look into in one's secular life: Utthana Sampada, Araka Sampada, Kalyana Mitata, Samajivikata. So one has to stay energized, energetic, because if you lack in energy, it could be a big problem, not even to your spiritual life, but also your secular normal life. Second is Araka Sampada. You should have safety. Nobody would like to be in a crime neighborhood. Nobody would like to be in a country where there are a lot of wars. Nobody would like to be in a place where a lot of bad things happen. They want safety. So this vigilance as well as safety is a must. So you should find your safety. And third is Kalyana Mittas, good wise friends. They really make a big deal. And Samajivikata, have a good life, especially when it comes to your financial planning. If you are a person who is spending a lot and then earning less, it's a big problem. So it says earning and spending should be in harmony. I know there are people who want to spend a lot of money for unnecessary, trivial stuff first. It's like those of them who want to buy things before they want to buy something stable. Okay, so these are the four things that every householder, every layperson must look into. Also, Buddha was talking about some four innate spiritual qualities, what they are. Saddha, Sila, Chaga, and Panya. Saddha, as Professor delineated, on one side, it's the unwavering trust about the Buddha, as well as trust in your normal family circles, social circles. If you are a person who is always losing trust, mutual trust from your friends, families, other people, you are in danger. So you will not feel really good. And you need to be moral, virtuous. You need to be generous, chaga. And I guess there's a difference between the two terms called chaga and dana. Chaga simply means to relinquish, give up, both physically and mentally. As we talked one day, some people they are generous, but they give up just on the side of physical side. Physically, materially they give up, but mentally they still hold on to what they gave up. So it's a big problem. So when you are generous, you need to give up both physically and mentally. And wisdom, this is what we talked last Wednesday in great details. If someone wants to know more about wisdom, please check out our previous video. And then Professor also shared with us about six ways of losing, squandering your wealth. So you have to be very careful. If you are a person who make a lot of money, if you are a person who make less money, it doesn't matter in Buddhism. Buddha says you have to be energetic and make your own money, but you have to sort of, be very serious about these six aspects about your wealth. Let's take a look at what they are. The six ways of squandering wealth. Okay, indulging in intoxicants. So never eat, drink to a point where you feel that your presence of mind is not anymore with you. You have to be very careful. Eat in moderation and do everything in moderation. We are not saying you can eat this, you can drink this, but what we are saying is that do everything in moderation, so you will be much better. Second, wandering the streets at inappropriate time. This is more relevant to Buddha time. Even nowadays, we should not, trespass. We should not walk at different, inappropriate times. Frequenting public spectacles. You're spending a lot, wasting your time on unnecessary things. Compulsive gambling. Gambling is not good. And unwise friends, it's a big problem. And habitual idleness, that means laziness. You are very lazy. You don't even to talk about this topic, even to think about this topic today. You need to have energy. You need to have positive thinking. if you don't have positive thinking, if you don't have energy, you will never think about this topic, how to live to your full potential. I wonder many people even thought about this topic in their life. I wonder. You should think that you can live to your full potential. Okay, Professor, now I think we need to move on to the questions. So let's take a look at other questions. I think we will take 1 or 2 minutes maximum to each question. The first question, some of the questions I think we have already answered in our discussion, but we'll take a look and give short answers within 1 2 minutes. The first question: why should we live to our full potential? Why? Professor, that's a good answer.
Okay. So this is, of course, is a kind of a very good question, because of why, of course, that we right through our discussion and we talk about and we have to improve our potentials, because this our human life is the one which we had it not for ourselves. That kind of a thing we must really think, because this is to serve for others. If we say something and don't really take it that, and we must always engage in the serving others, not really improving ourselves, not that. But we there are, because we have this particular kind of a life, and this is the important life, and we must use this for the service, for the world, for the others. That is what it really mentioned. That is why we have the why should we live to our full potential, and uh, to serve others properly, and we have to improve our potentials.
Okay, so I think it's relevant to your question, your answer. How do I think of living for other people with Theravada philosophy? Isn't it Mahayana teaching? I mean, I know that when you say Buddhism, it's not Theravada or Mahayana. It's it's everything. So a lot of people in Theravada think that they want to attain Nibbana. That's it. In attaining Nibbana, I don't want to think about other people. I only want to think about my sansara, my attaining Nibbana. So, Professor, what do you think about this?
No, yeah, because now because a lot of people think that actually the only in Theravada does not have any kind of services for others, only for themselves. Because some of the uh, writers also have written something like that. Only Mahayana is, but it is not so. In Theravada and Mahayana, in both equally, it's mentioned about that you have to develop first yourself, then you must serve for the others. It's really mentioned in the Salleka Sutra, where it is mentioned that, and you must, without really supposing, if someone is really get into the mud and he is really in mud and he cannot get up and somebody has to help, and for to help that somebody, you must really not should not in the mud, then you can help the person who is in the mud. And if you are also in the mud, and how can you help the other person who is in the mud? So, this is the way that it has been mentioned. First of all, you must really try to uh, improve yourself and drive away all the kleshas, then help others to uh, drive away their kleshas also.
Oh, it's related to Salika Sutta, as you said that because we are, let's say, you are in mud and you cannot help someone in the same mud to get out of the mud, but you know that other person is in a muddy place, you are in a muddy place, but you both need the help from somebody else. So that means there's somebody else thinking has to come from this altruistic perspectives. I mean, let's refer it to the life. If somebody in darkness, if the both people are in the darkness, do you think somebody else has to help? Is that what we call self? We need to, as you mentioned that in our life, as you said, we need to explore our life first. At the same time, we need to help other people. That means we should not end up just by doing our things only. We need to look into other people too. So isn't this help from other people the solution to the two people in the muddy situation given in the Sallika Sutta?
Yes. Here it is really mentioned that time because it is there is a two person. There is a how can you get out the mud without someone's help? Of course, yes, you cannot get out if someone is not helping you. That person coming to help you should not be in the mud. That is what I really emphasized here.
Okay. The second question is pursuing a life to our full potential creating more greed? Please explain. Now, we know that when we think that we need to live up to full potential, one of the things that could come up to our mind is that, oh, I want to be greedy for myself, my life. I want to sort of only self-focus. So, Professor, how do we encourage us to live live to full potential without greed? I think how can we get rid of this greed factor from different from living to full potential?
Yes, that is what actually I really mentioned at that time. When you do things, you must do it, not really think about yourself into that very much. I don't know whether uh, uh, the uh, the listeners will understand this factor because, of course, and we have to think and we are doing, but we almost must do it that, and we are going to do this for the sake of others. That kind of a way, normally, we must think. In that way, then we can really get away this greediness. Because greed is, of course, is coming with yourself. Because here, that you are really not really talking about yourself, but you are doing things for the sake of others. Then there is no greed. So this is the way that can. So it is actually the way that is why it's really in Buddhism it's mentioned the altruistic ability, because this is what is really important.
Okay. So if some, because we are supposed to live a life not just with self-focusing. We need to self-focus a little, but not too much in terms of nibbana. But we should not end up with our self-focusing. We have to transform our self-focusing into helping other people. So I think there's a transformation from self-focusing into others. So if this thinking is further encouraged, this greed will not arise, as you said. So the greed factor won't affect us in practicing a life to full potential. I think the next question is the same. Uh, how do we balance out greed and life to our full potential? I think we answered already. We won't get greedy if we really switch our self focus into helping other people too. So then, on one side, we are encouraging us to be healthy in terms of living to full potential, and also we must look into help other people as well, uh, for them to get out of the darkness in their life in possible legal wholesome ways. Okay, the next question is, should we be stressed out by thinking of a perfect life? Now, Professor, when we always get to think that, oh, I need to live to my full potential, I need to live to my full potential, failures come and go. So I probably think there could be a stressed out moment to people, anxiety, depression, and these mental issues can come out, so arise in their mindset. So how do people, and what's your piece of advice for them who can be stressed out, who are already stressed out in thinking living their lives to full potential?
Uh, yes, of course, and some people really do it like that, and they can't be impatient, and that is what we really mention actually, to be patient, because patience is, of course, it has been mentioned as a paramita also, because it is something very important, and we must not really be impatient for anything in our life that will really create the problems for ourselves and mental problems. And some people really want everything instantly, and not only that, and some people, when they do some kind of a good karma, and they really expecting results immediately, because that kind of a thing which never comes, we must understand the nature of these things are happening, because in any case, what we really exert for something, we cannot really immediately get it. Those things are gradually will come, because those gradually means, and one thing is that, and when you are exerting yourself, not really physically but also mentally, your mental things have to be really collected, because when you are doing something good, now it is mentioned here, one day also I really mentioned, nahi papam katang kammang sajjuti rangva muchyati. When somebody is done a papa karma, that results will not come like milk will become curd. Milk to become curd, it's not take very much time. But in that way, you cannot expect any karma to give results, because it should be, because this is a mental factor. Mental factor has to be matured mentally. It takes little time. So in the same way, the potential is also the same thing. So in that case, we should not really be stretched out of thinking the perfect life at once, because perfect life means and very vast way that it is perfection is coming. So that it is a gradual thing. It's not really come immediately, and you are not also, however may you put effort, that also not really perfect at once. It also to be perfect, it is also there should be a gradual. Okay.
Now, I also wonder, now, when you were explaining about this topic, this question as an answer, I was just wondering, once someone sets one's goal to live to his or her potential, and then if one understands the barriers, and then the most important two factors are energy and patience, because people might be very stuck, how much I put energy, even how much I'm patient, I don't get the same results as uh, much as other people that I know in my life. So I think people have to think about, everyone is different, everyone's outcomes for their good behavior, wholesome behavior, ethical approach could result in different ways, but the most important thing is patience will take you to the right place. It will be this month, it will be next year, it will be in the long run. So keep faith in patience and energy. At the same time, liberate yourself in order to become a person who live to the full potential. The next question is about karma. How do we live life to our full potential with the influence of previous karma? I think this question arose in someone who thinks that some people are uh, bornly privileged. Some people are bornly so much happy. Some people are bornly, uh, so much equipped in their life, and we think that those people are living to their full potential. So if that is karma, why the karma treating them differently? Why the karma is treating me differently? So that means, do I have to sort of understand this phenomenon just from the karma perspective, or just from other perspectives too? So how do we live life to our full potential with the influence of previous karma? That means, how do I understand my previous karma? Is the place that I'm still struggling now? The people who are struggling now, they are the people who mostly think about this topic. So is the place that we are struggling, uh, something that I need to think from previous karma? If not, how can I figure out this topic with karma?
Uh, yes, because then you are thinking about the previous karma, and we should not think about our previous karma anyway. Because think about previous karma, you must know about previous karma properly. And it is really in Buddhism, it's really uh, objected to this kind of mentalities. And you should not think that about previous karma and so on, but you must exert yourself and live with the kind of to improve full potential, then forget about the previous karma and so on. And you should not go to understand about previous karma. If there is a previous karma, then it will give anyway, but we can we have the right to, of course, and change our some of the previous things also, and previous effects we can change. So the karma also, but it is not applied here. It is only applied because what you are trying to do, you must do it yourself. Don't think about the previous karma.
So nobody should be concerned about previous karma when they want to think about a life to full potential, because you already got a very precious, very valuable life. So you have the possibility. Maybe you need to stay energetic, you need to strive, you need to plan, you need to be patient, you need to be energetic. I think if you do all this, you will find your way out, rather just thinking your miserable nature with the past life. So don't compare your miserable nature just with the past life, because we never know what was the past life like. Okay, last question, Professor. This is a very deep, big question, but we have to be careful in answering. A very short question, but the answer looks like something deep. What is our aim or purpose in life? Now, every different people can view this question differently. Answer: in the Buddhist teachings, we know our purpose in life to live to the fullest, as we talk about, to the fullest, if can, to attain nibbana, basically. But Professor will view this answer, the question, in different aspects, and then we can have more thoughts.
Yeah, purpose in life. Yes, this way. The purpose of life is to uh, improve our life, to to be able to help other people, as well as and to be able to help for ourselves also. I think that makes sense probably, because we are helping, we are trying to help others as well as help ourselves also, both the way together. How to do the both the way together? And together way is that, and as all we have discussed, and we have had a very good life, and with full potential in fact, and full-fledged life, and with all the six senses are functioning very well, and we have born as a human beings, everything is there. So then when we have this kind of life, of course, and we have in according to Buddhism this 5 powers and 5 energies, of course, then you can improve yourself, no problem for anything. That is what we can give according to Buddhism, and that according to that, the purpose of life is that, and as the Venerable also mentioned, that our purpose is to gain enlightenment. To gain enlightenment, of course, is according to Buddhism, it's mentioned that, and if you are trying to get it in this life, is okay, of course, that is the one. But if you try to do things in a possible manner, that is what I mentioned, and you do it for yourself as well as for others. Every time when you do anything, and you must think that I am doing it as a service for others, then at that time you are doing it. Then by doing it, you get the benefit, as well as your thinking always goes about the other people, and it is altruistic thinking. So that is the thinking which is try to improve your enlightenment.
So I want to say a huge thanks to Professor Kariyawasam, and I'm very thankful to you, because with that we want to close this session. But I have a few things to say. For those who already know that we started this Dhamma Pariyasana discussion series a few weeks ago, and we've been doing 6 with today's discussion. We've been able to do 6 discussions on different variety of topics, starting from how to die mindfully and different things. So we were very happy to share these insights and knowledge with viewers who've been watching this. Because of the professor's schedule and my schedule, we will have to sort of nail down to some days, so that we're gonna close Dhamma Pariyasana series, English Dhamma Pariyasana series today. But next week we have plans to do the same topic in Sinhala, because a lot of people might be interested to learn how to live up to full potential. And then the other week, it's going to be 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be having a personal interview, kind of an autobiography. Not autobiography, I would say it's going to be a personal interview about Professor's life. The Wednesday, that could be from 2 weeks from now. That's going to be in English. So next Wednesday, we're going to be having the same discussion in Sinhala, and the following Wednesday, we're going to be having an interview to know more about Professor's Dhamma work, academic work. I think a lot of people are interested in understanding and knowing who he was, what he has done, contributions, and a lot of things. Also his personal life, in a good way. We don't want to dig into too much personal things, but with that in mind, we're going to be having that too. So thank you, Professor, and also thank you, viewers who've been with us. for the whole time of this series. I hope that we all studied and you all learned many things from our insightful discussions. And I want to say thank you, Professor, and then thank you to all your sharings. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And have a good night. Take care, everyone.